Early Sunday morning and long before dawn, crowds started lining the streets, waiting to catch a glimpse of the funeral cortege as Fidel Castro's remains make their final journey to the cemetery. Unlike the long procession from the capital, Havana, which was greeted by cheering crowds, everyone here was silent as their former leader passed. The Perez family watched the procession pass from the front porch of their modest home in this working-class district of Santiago. Then they went inside, hoping to see the funeral on television, though live coverage was cancelled at the last minute. Grandmother Maria Elena is disabled. She's benefited from Cuba's free health care. And with free education, one of her grandchildren is studying law, the other medicine.
We have achieved the best things you can have in the world: health, free education, and a safe country. And this is the greatest thing you can ask for as a human being to develop yourself as a person.
I call on all senior citizens to keep telling the kids about this great thing we have and should maintain. Here, the physically impaired, colored people, and all those who were discriminated against in the past. Now, they are equal, brothers and sisters in this revolution.
Now we have Michael Voss joining us live in Santiago. Michael, we just saw your report. What comes next for Cuba?
Well, the 9 days of official mourning are over. The country is slowly starting to get back together again. Everyone is asking the question, now that Fidel Castro is no longer here, what's this going to mean for the pace of change and the pace of reform? Certainly everyone here is very proud, as you heard, of the free health and education, but the state-run economic system that Fidel Castro created is really struggling, and affording this sort of welfare state is very difficult, and that's going to be the big challenge for his successors. Now, as you said, Fidel Castro, the last of the great Cold War leaders, has finally been laid to rest. It was a private ceremony. It was meant to have been shown live here on Cuban television, and then they cancelled it at the last minute. Fidel Castro, mixed opinions around the world, vilified by his enemies as a dictator, praised by others for his championing of the poor, not just in Cuba, but in the United States. At 90, in the end, it was old age that got to him. He had to step down 11 years ago due to ill health and ceded power to his brother Raul. Now, finally, he has been laid to rest in the Santa Ifigenia Cemetery, the historic cemetery here in Santiago.
And so, Michael, there was a rally last night led by Raul Castro. What did he say?
Well, I think there were several interesting things he said. One of them was that Fidel Castro had asked that there be no monuments or statues to him and no streets, buildings or parks named after him, because he didn't want to generate a cult of the personality. There are pictures of Che Guevara everywhere, on T-shirts, on buildings, but none of Fidel Castro, and it looks like that's going to remain. Raul Castro said he'd remain firm to Fidel's ideas of creating a just socialist society. Interestingly, at the very end, he also warned that Cuba would not take any threats to its national sovereignty. I think in some ways, although without naming him, this was probably a message to the US, to the next US president, Donald Trump, that if he starts to pressure Cuba, they're not about to give in.
Michael Voss live in Santiago de Cuba.